Welcome to all the Waukesha Town Hall, Thursday, March 8th, 2018. We're starting out tonight with a joint public hearings and plan commission meeting. So the meeting's been called to order. If you would please stand, we'll all join in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Clerk Nicholas, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Flanagan.
Here.
Commissioner White.
Here.
Commissioner Stickler.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Ramirez.
Here.
Supervisor Durr.
Here.
Supervisor Fisher.
Here.
Supervisor Radke.
Here.
Supervisor Wolf.
Here.
And Chairman Merrick is absent.
Okay, thank you. We have to deal with a bit of business here, which is the appointment of a temporary chairman. The procedure is because Chairman Merrick is appearing tonight as Mr. Merrick with issues of the subject of these joint public hearings. Provisions are to elect a temporary chairman for the meeting. Do we have any volunteers amongst many very good candidates here this evening? Don't all jump at once.
I'll make a motion that we elect Supervisor Durr as the chairman.
I'll second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
All right, very good, thank you. Madam Clerk, have we met the requirements of the open meeting law?
Yes, we have.
Okay,
Yes, we
very
have.
good. Then we will start with public hearing. We have 3 public hearings this evening. Public hearing number 1. Notice is hereby given in the joint public hearing involving the Town of Waukesha Plan Commission and the Town of Waukesha Town Board will be held on Thursday, March 11th, 2018, beginning at 6 p.m. at the Waukesha Town Hall, located at W250 S3567 Center Road, Waukesha, Wisconsin, to hear the proposed comprehensive plan amendment request for petitioner John Merrick, location N20 acres of the E1 half of the northeast 1/4 of section 34 and the southeast quarter of the southeast quarter of section 27 T69 R19, Town of Waukesha tax key WAKT 1404996 and WAKT 1429999, specifically to amend the comprehensive plan from commercial office and environmental corridor to low density residential and environmental corridor. All interested parties will be given an opportunity to be heard. Planner Malarkey, would you like to start?
Sure. I'll give a brief overview of the proposal and some of my comments. And, I'll save the conditions for the actual action items on the agenda. So the petitioner is requesting a comprehensive plan amendment for the property as mentioned from commercial office and environmental corridor to low density residential and environmental corridor. And the reason for the request for the comprehensive plan amendment is to ultimately develop 22 family townhomes for a total of 40 dwelling units with a clubhouse and a maintenance garage on the southwest corner of Glendale Road and 164 just south of the Waukesha Bible Church. The units are proposed to be 2-bedroom rentals, include a mix of 2-story and ranch units ranging from 1,326 square feet to 1,760 square feet. The development is ultimately modeled after the overlook townhomes located on State Trunk Highway 59, Arcadian Avenue in the town of Waukesha. A development review team meeting was held with Waukesha County on this project on December 19th to discuss the proposed project and to coordinate between the county and the town. So in order for this development to ultimately happen, the petitioner needs a comprehensive plan amendment from the town, as I mentioned. They also need a comprehensive plan amendment from the county, Waukesha County as well. Waukesha County's comprehensive plan amendment would be from suburban 1 density residential, 1.5 to 2.9 acres, and primary environment corridor, to low density residential, 20,000 square feet to 1.4 acres, and primary environmental corridor. Also required as part of the, in addition to the comprehensive plan amendments at the town and the county level, also required would be rezoning in the town from A1 agricultural to R2 single-family residence, and that's addressed under a separate public hearing tonight. And then in addition to that, a conditional use for a planned unit development, which is also addressed under separate public hearing tonight as well. The Town Plan Commission and Board did review this conceptually at the January 11th meeting of this year. So at that time, there were a number of questions that were pointed to the petitioner to answer at upcoming meetings, which would be tonight. One of the concerns or questions that arose from that meeting was the determination of whether the stream on the southern property was navigable or not, because that would impact whether county shoreline zoning would apply. And as I understand it, that's currently in process. The latest updated plans have shown a 300-foot boundary from that stream, whether it's determined ultimately navigable or not. It doesn't actually overlap any of the proposed structures. When we met with Waukesha County, they mentioned that it would only be a factor is if the building footprints would fall within that 300-foot jurisdiction. As it looks, it does not. So county zoning is not likely an issue for this project. Information on zoning and ownership for the properties to the south was also requested at the previous meeting. I can answer those questions now. Zoning and ownership of properties to the south, directly south is the 56+ acre parcel owned by Waukesha County Parks and Land Use. That's zone P1, Park, Recreation, and Public District. And then further south of that, the Red Wing Hills subdivision is located there. That property is zone RE, single family residence estate district. Another question that was asked was what the plan for the use of the environmental corridor would be if it's not dedicated to the county or another entity. The petitioner at this time plans to dedicate the environmental corridor and buffer to Waukesha County Parks and Land Use for public ownership. The petitioner was also asked to provide photographs of the overlook townhomes, the development that this is modeled after, to share at the meeting, and potentially material samples to be able to evaluate the architecture and materials. And I know that the petitioner has also recently submitted updated renderings of the proposed buildings as well. Also asked at the previous meeting was for the petitioner to provide information on the proposed cut-fill balance for the site, including the type of material proposed for cut and fill. I have not seen information on that, but the petitioner may wish to address that tonight. And then finally, the last outstanding issue was an explanation on why the proposed two-family townhomes are a better use of the property than the planned commercial office use that's currently planned today. And the petitioner may wish to address that tonight as well. I have a few comments, most of which I shared at the previous conceptual review meeting, but I'll quickly address as well. In terms of the town map amendment, I just wanted to go over the future land use map, and you can see it on the screen overhead, and I apologize, it's a little tough to see because of the overhead lighting, but the property we're talking about here is shown in pink, and then a little bit of green environmental corridor at the bottom. So the boundaries are generally like this. As you can see, the pink is the commercial office designation. And the properties that surround it, the planned land uses for those, the church that's directly north of the property shown in blue is planned for, is planned as park and, I'm sorry, it's planned for commercial office and governmental institutional. So the very west portion of the church is commercial office. The rest is government institutional. Land to the west and northwest of the property is planned as suburban density 2 residential, so residential development to the west and northwest. Land north of Glendale Road and directly west of 164 is planned for commercial and mixed use. Further west of that is planned residential. Across the street to the northeast, that's planned as suburban density residential. And then directly east across, thank you, directly east across 164, the subdivision to the east is planned as low-density residential, 20,000 square feet to 1 acre, which is the category that's being proposed for the site tonight. So there's a variety of land use plan categories and a mix of uses in the general vicinity and subject property. While the east side of 164 is developed as single-family residential, uses on the west side of 164 include a number of uses, including the Penn Hospital, north of Glendale Road, Stick Sports Academy, residential uses, the church, environmental corridor, ag land as well. So there's definitely a mix of uses going on here on the property and the surroundings. In terms of the actual land use category, the commercial office category that's currently planned for the property is described in the plan as land where service and office activities such as an office park will be designated typically near arterial roadways. An office park would also be allowed within the town of Waukesha within the commercial land designation and the mixed use category designations as well. There are several areas designated for commercial and mixed uses in the town comprehensive plan. If you look at the map ahead on the overhead screen, anywhere you see pink or red are areas designated as commercial uses. So up and down 164, there are a number of areas planned for commercial use, as well as south of Genesee Road on the west side of town. There's a small area planned here off of Green Lane, on Genesee Road, within the island, within the city of Waukesha, on Sunset Drive, etc. So there's scattered commercial development planned within the town of Waukesha. And in fact, there's approximately 120 acres of commercial or mixed-use planned land within the 164 corridor that's either underdeveloped or not yet developed. So there is a substantial amount of land within the corridor that is not yet developed should the parcel in question be planned, the plan be changed from commercial office to a residential use. The Plan Commission and the board should determine whether or not there is enough commercial land planned in the corridor and the rest of the town as part of the decision-making process. So, as I mentioned before, the Waukesha County also needs to amend their land use plan. There was a public hearing for that on February 22nd, where citizens did make comments on the request at that time. We also investigated some of the access issues with the parcel in terms of whether it was developed for commercial use or residential use. Would that make a difference in terms of access onto State Trunk Highway 164? Because that's a state highway, the state controls all access points onto 164. There's currently a couple of driveway locations that exist. Currently, DOT did mention that if the northern, so basically we have two parcels here, there's a northern parcel and a southern parcel. If the northern parcel was developed by itself, DOT would not allow an access point on the 164 for the property because it already has access by that sliver onto Glendale Road. However, if both properties were developed simultaneously as is being proposed, they would rather an access point not be on 164, but they would consider it at the southernmost access point where there's an existing median cut. It should be known that the petitioner is not requesting an access onto 164 at this time, but plans to use Glendale Road as an access point. The reason why I investigated that with DOT was just to see if it was developed as a commercial use or residential use, if that would make an impact or a difference in terms of how they might permit this use. And it really largely just depends on whether it's developed as a single parcel to the north or as a total parcel in totality. And finally, the town has public participation procedures that were recently adopted as part of this to govern how the public gets involved as part of a comprehensive plan amendment that's required by state statutes. That was approved by resolution at the January 25th town board meeting. The public participation procedures include a Class 1 notice that needs to be published at least 30 days prior to the public hearing. That meeting hasn't happened yet. There's a public hearing scheduled for April 12th, or will be scheduled for April 12th, depending on the outcome of tonight's meeting. In addition to that, the Town Comprehensive Plan requires a joint public meeting between the Plan Commission and the Board. That is tonight's meeting, so that's in addition to the statute requirements for the Class 1 notice meeting as well. So those are the opportunities for the public to get involved. So even after tonight, there will be one more public hearing held on this on April 12th. So I won't get into the conditions because we'll save that for later, but that is my overview of the request.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, it's typical to have the petitioner make a presentation if he so desires.
Good evening. My name is Dan Glajewski. I'm the architect for the project. I'll be making the presentation tonight. Petitioner's proposal will offer a high-end side-by-side townhome development for lease in the town of Waukesha. Each townhome will feature high-end features like granite countertops, cherry wood cabinets, stainless steel appliances, tiled kitchens and bathrooms, vaulted ceilings where possible, volume ceilings, 9 foot tall, basically the standard for single-family construction. We're looking at fireplaces, oversized garages, in a comfortable country setting. This distinct housing opportunity for people wanting to locate in Waukesha County. Proposed Rolling Meadows development will offer a unique housing product that exists in only one other spot in Waukesha County. Demand at the petitioner's sister development, The Overlook, has been high, and there is a need for additional inventory, which is the reason for this proposal. This development will be a win-win opportunity. The land being purchased from the Waukesha School District, they will receive $600,000 to use towards other educational goals. The land in the proposed development has been off the tax rolls for some 25 years now. The developer will be adding many millions of dollars to the tax base for the town of Waukesha, Waukesha County, and the Waukesha School and Technical School System. Additionally, the developer will not be putting any pressure on the town's Department of Public Works. The roads will be private. The developer will maintain the roads and be responsible for snow and ice control in the town of Waukesha. Individual residents pay for their own garbage collection. Therefore, there will be no increase in cost to the town for garbage collection either. At petitioner's complete development, the Overlook Townhomes off of Highway 59 in the town of Waukesha, we have done a traffic study. The subdivision is currently 90% occupied. The average traffic count into the subdivision each day is 156 cars. Rolling Meadows will be substantially the same as the Overlook project. Both will have 40 units when complete. Both will be side-by-side townhomes, appealing to the same type of tenants. Therefore, it would be reasonable to assume that the number of trips per day to and out of Rolling Meadows would be less than 200 per day. According to the last traffic study completed by the Wisconsin Department of Transportation in 2009, there were 790 cars per day on Glendale Road. Adding for increased traffic flow between 2009 and now, we could expect traffic counts are between 850 and 900 cars per day. Even with the added 200 cars per day from Rolling Meadows, the traffic on Glendale Road would only be about 12% of the 8,000 cars per day the DOT specialist stated that Glendale Road is designed to handle. Next, the petitioners propose to donate the wetlands and conservancy land to the south of the proposed development to the county so that those valuable resources will be preserved into perpetuity. There has been some questions regarding the water table and stormwater management, so first I'd like to turn it over to Jim Maloney to address the stormwater.
Thank you.
I'm Jim Maloney, the engineer for the project. Prior to starting this project, I met with Alan Barrows in Waukesha County, the Land Resource Division. Went over it. So our plan is pretty much a compilation of our comments. The roads are going to be flat, so the ditches will be flat, and they're wider bottoms to help infiltrate water. And one thing that Alan brought up was that he would not approve any design if it allowed water to go to the west. So on our plan, we have a 3-foot high berm, and then plus we have a swale along the west line. So that water will be captured and taken to the south, approximately where the detention pond is. The pond is going to be clay lined, so it'll be a wet pond. And the comment about the earthwork balance. It's pretty much balanced now. We won't be hauling in any dirt. If we need to get more, we'll just make the pond bigger to make that work. But the flat ditches and the swale and the berm is going to keep the stormwater on site and take it to our pond. And then we have Kevin here to talk about the water.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, town supervisors and commissioners. My name is Kevin Kessler. I'm actually a county board supervisor in Columbia County, and I'm also chairman of my local town plan commission. And in fact, I'd be at the town board meeting tonight presenting there if I weren't here. Mr. Merrick asked me 8 days ago to look in, from a groundwater perspective, into the public comments that had been received at the county public meeting on this proposed development. I'm retired from the DNR, been retired 10 years. I formerly was head of the well drilling program, deputy of the public drinking water supply program, and for 11 years I was the head of the state groundwater management program. I'm here, I guess, primarily as a groundwater expert, not for my knowledge of comprehensive plans and plan commissions and those processes, but always tempted to comment on that as well. I did look at what the material that was in the public hearing record and has been submitted thus far with respect to groundwater in this development. And I think you all have my letter in your packet. I won't go through everything on a point-by-point basis. I would be glad to have to answer any questions. I think according to what I found in the hearing record and according to the state private water supply well log database, much of the information or the concerns with respect to groundwater quality and groundwater hydrology at this site have been misdirected or misleading. And I do respect the citizens, the integrity of their concerns and their right to comment, and disagreement about the technical aspects of their comments doesn't reflect any disrespect in that nature whatsoever. The groundwater table at this site, or at least for the places where we have soil borings, is several feet deep. The borings only went down to 9 feet, so in many places we don't know exactly how deep, but at least 9 feet. Other places slightly shallower than the 9 feet, but any accusations that it's 6 inches or 1.5 feet throughout the site are just not supported by the data. Also on this site, there's clay in the unconsolidated deposits in the soil, as well as clay layers, deep clay layers from the well logs, several tens of feet down before the bedrock. So I believe there's definitely a separation, hydraulic separation between the very shallow groundwater here that might feed the adjacent stream and the groundwater that's used for drinking water. Frankly, for this site, I do not see any significant groundwater concerns. I don't see a reason to be concerned about this type of development, this particular development, in comparison to any other development that you have in the town of Waukesha. And in fact, the development in some cases is more sparse than what you have in other places. So I would be glad to answer any questions either now or as you go through the course of the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is that all from the petitioner?
Not quite.
Question was made about whether or not the site is balanced. I do have a,
Could we have your name, sir?
I'm sorry, John Merrick. I live in the town of Waukesha at W221 South 1487 Overlook Trail. I also own 40 other homes there. Supervisor Fisher, I think you were the one that requested this. Would you like to take a look at it? The reds are cuts, the blues are fills, and it is in fact a balanced site at this point.
Not at least.
Planner Marlucky?
Sure.
I wanted to readdress a couple of items that have been mailed out to Plan Commission members and board members. There was a statement made that the application was incomplete relating to DNR reports, etc. Simply not accurate. All the reports that were required to be in have been done, delineations, etc. There's a comment that I'm moving out of the town of Waukesha and I plan on wrecking it and I'll have no remorse. I currently own 40 homes in the town of Waukesha, worth millions of dollars. I'm probably the largest landowner by dollar value in the town. Makes no sense to me why I would try and wreck it. I'm willing to invest millions of dollars more into the town of Waukesha. The question was, why is this a better use for this land than commercial development? About 25 years ago, the school board purchased this land. It's been for sale. They haven't actively pursued selling it, but it's been widely known that it is available for sale. No commercial development has been brought up for any type of consideration with the town or county. Furthermore, if you were to get commercial development, what would you get? Perhaps another pole barn, like the pole barns that are along Highway 164 and the new Sticks Academy. Although it's a very nice pole barn, it's still what it is. With this development, you know exactly what you're going to get and when you're going to get it. Within 2 years, you'll have 40 high-end homes valued at multiple millions of dollars. The assessor has told me he's going to be assessing Overlook at about $5 million. That's what I would expect this to be assessed at also. There's a flyer floating around saying that there's only three multifamily properties in the town of Waukesha. That's rather disingenuous statement. This was prepared by the assessor for the individual that's circulating that flyer. It shows 28 multifamily properties in the town of Waukesha. The assessor was unable to determine the date that those properties were, the 4 families that they were built, so I'm not quite certain how the flyer circulator could have had that information. So if the Plan Commission and or board would like to see this, this is the 28 multifamily properties that are in the town of Waukesha now. Anybody? Going once? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we will move on to